The Nintendo Wii might be one of the most iconic consoles ever made, but behind the motion controls, Mii's, and family-friendly image lies a mountain of forgotten projects, strange prototypes, and things Nintendo tried hiding from us. I also decided to include some Wii U lost media because there isn't really much of it out there, and since the Wii U is the Wii's brother system, I thought, hey, why the hell not? Some of this lost media was teased publicly, some was buried in the files, and some just straight up vanished. Alright, I'll waste no more time. This is the Wii Lost Media Iceberg. Wii Startup Disc. The Wii Startup Disc was a highly sought after piece of Wii Lost media for years upon years, actually since the very launch of the system. And because of this, it makes it arguably the most well-known piece of Wii Lost media. Maybe it could be interchangeable with the next one. Anyways, the Wii Startup Disc to Nintendo was a big mistake. They were very secretly trying to hide this mistake from the public, however, it had already been too late. On launch day, every Wii was supposed to come with the console, a Wii Remote, a nunchuck, a whole bunch of wires, and then of course, Wii Sports. However, a certain batch of Wiis being sent out to stores for sale were a little bit different. Certain Wii consoles were distributed to the public containing no Wii Sports disc, and instead of being greeted by the sleek, futuristic menu upon turning on the console, you were instead met with this error screen, asking for something called a startup disc. If you turn to Nintendo's website to find out why this error occurred, they would simply tell you to send your console back to them and they'll have it fixed for you. But this was no fun, of course, at least to some, and so an auction was held which was selling a broken Wii, which displayed the startup disc error screen. A man by the name of Bushing got his hands on this Wii console and dumped the console's NAND, which was later uploaded to the internet by another Wii hacker named Larson V. From here, we were able to see the startup disc menu in full after what had been like 15 years. I'll play this footage for you now. IQ Wii. In 2006, Nintendo released their most beloved system yet, introducing motion controls to mainstream gaming, bringing life to their console with amazing online functionality. The Wii was a smash hit from the start, and Chinese fans saw this and wanted it, but they couldn't get it, and they never would. Taiwan, Hong Kong, and areas surrounding all received the Wii, however the IQ Wii was nowhere to be found. IQ refers to the subsidiary to Nintendo that they used to release their consoles in China, and maybe you may know them for releasing the IQ Player, probably their most iconic IQ system. See, the IQ Wii did get China's official government approval for release in 2007, and it was rumored to come out in May of 2008 before the Olympics taking place in Beijing, but nothing ever came of it. Look, here's an image of it being advertised at a shopping mall. Even though the console had been approved for release, the system was met with resistance from the newly formed Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, which would ultimately lead to this console's cancellation. Nowadays, China has loosened up a little bit when it comes to their really strict gaming laws, but the damage had already been done, which ultimately led to the IQ Wii becoming lost media. Wii Sports Beta Build. Back in 2005, beta builds for certain Wii games were shown off at different Nintendo-held events. At the time, the console was still under the Revolution name, so these demos weren't even known as Wii Sports or Wii Drums. Instead, they were just known as Sports Pack or Music Pack. And it's the content that was in the Sports Pack which is very interesting. It was a sports minigame collection, similar to its fully released counterpart, featuring the following sports: tennis, baseball, golf, boxing, and airplane. Yeah, that Wii Sports Resort minigame actually had a version of it all the way back in 2006. Sure, it's pretty rough looking, with a shitty version of Woohoo Island fully modeled for this demo, but hey, it's the thought that counts, right? Another minigame that has no existing footage of it on the internet was this jetpack sport. I'm not sure if this image comes from an actual playable build of the game, or just some concept that Nintendo whipped together to be seen internally within the development teams, but it looks quite interesting. The Mii character, or at least what is supposedly a Mii character, appears to be wearing a Wii Remote jetpack. Footage for all of the main 5 sports are available on YouTube, however an actual playable build of the beta Wii Sports has yet to surface. This build is a highly sought after piece of Wii Lost media by the Wii community, although I have hope that maybe we'll find this one sometime in the future. New Super Mario Bros. Mii. Here we are, the first Wii U lost media of the day. New Super Mario Bros. Mii was a tech demo for the Wii U, shown off in E3 2011. It was based on the Wii game New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and it had new levels, and it allowed the players to play as Miis. It was meant to demonstrate the Wii U's off-TV play mode, which allowed the game to be played on the Wii U gamepad without using the television screen. The demo would play for 10 minutes and then automatically reset itself. When the Wii U was launched in the following year, one of the launch titles, New Super Mario Bros. U, was similar to this demo. The actual demo, however, has not been seen since E3 2011, and it's currently unavailable. The ability to play as your Mii wasn't entirely removed, but it was reserved only for a special challenge game mode in their final release. It's pretty obvious that Nintendo wasn't going to release New Super Mario Bros. Mii as a main 2D Mario title for the Wii U, considering it didn't even play as Mario, but it would still be cool to at least be able to play this demo again. Beta Wii channels. On September 14th, 2006, a Japanese Nintendo press conference was held which featured footage of a bunch of Beta Wii content. Most interesting of all, there was footage of the Beta Wii menu, alongside all of the Beta Wii channels. On this menu, we can see early versions of the Disc channel, Mii channel, Photo channel, Shop channel, Forecast channel, and News channel. However, footage of these channels is actually available on different parts of YouTube, but you really gotta go digging for them. The Beta Mii channel's gameplay is almost exactly the same as the final, except there are some additional sound effects when selecting certain buttons. No footage of the other beta channels actually exists aside from the Forecast channel, which is also my favorite. The menu for this one happens to be very different, taking on a teal, blue, and white color scheme, rather than the dark blue and green design of the final. Both are very visually appealing, however I feel like this one may have been a bit too bright. There's no music on this build of the Forecast channel, and the glow menu also looks fairly different. Maybe it's just the way this footage is captured, being off of a kiosk screen and not an actual recorded footage, but the glow looks a bit brighter than the final version. Aside from these visual changes, however, the channel functions about the same as the final. While there is no actual footage of the Beta Wii Shop channel working, there are some images made by Nintendo that roughly show how it would have looked. This version of the Shop channel takes on a very different look, being all orange and white instead of the blue and white of the final. These screenshots were uploaded to Twitter on August 18th, 2006, so we know that this version of the Wii Shop channel was being worked on before this time. Wii Fit Body Check channel. You may remember the feature from Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus, which would let you download their game-specific channels to your Wii menu. Both the Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus channels are still usable today, and are far from lost media, as anyone with a Wii Fit or Wii Fit Plus disc can still download them whenever they want. However, this channel was not downloadable from any game disc. Instead, it was only available via a download ticket given to you by a doctor. Alongside this download ticket for the channel, the doctor would also give you a specific SD card that contains the files to run this lost Japanese program. Yes, the Wii Fit Body Check channel would in fact contact your real doctor from your Wii. The Wii Fit Body Check channel would track your data from Wii Fit and send it over to your doctor regularly to let them know that your progress is good, I guess. It's hard, there's not much information about this channel at all, but there is this little diagram that proves how it would work. It also has been proven that this game had tie-in functionality with the DS game Personal Trainer Walking. The game would basically have you select a Mii and then, well, track your walking. It was honestly quite cool, but you could just use a pedometer or a phone app to get a pretty similar experience. Since the channel's servers were region-specific and tied to a Japanese service, much of the channel's functionality has been lost, with only partial assets and a few preserved snapshots available in archives or reverse-engineered by hobbyists. However, recently, projects like WeLink have begun reviving or emulating the channel's limited functionality. And that was all we had until about a year ago, when a video titled Wii Fit Body Check channel First Look was uploaded to the WeLink YouTube channel. It starts off like usual, a Mii is chosen and registered, which is about the furthest you could go without the channel asking you for the SD card. However, the Mii is actually successfully registered, something that wasn't possible until further work was done. When you click Begin on the Start menu, which looks almost the same as the Start menu from the actual Wii Fit game, you're then greeted with the Main menu, something we hadn't seen until this point. There's 4 boxes to choose from: Questions, Send Email, Answer History, and Connected DS. All of the boxes are inaccessible and grayed out, aside from the Connected DS button. Clicking this DS button, it lets you connect to the Personal Trainer Walking game with the Wii Fit Body Check channel, with instructions and screenshots of the game too. And that's all she wrote. The Wii Fit body check channel still hasn't been explored to its full capacities, and I'm unsure if it ever will be, considering a piece of lost media like this is quite tricky to preserve. You needed some sort of health official to actually make use of the channel, and since no Japanese health officials probably even remember this service, that's completely out of the picture. Rabbids channel. The Rabbids channel was a Wii channel made specifically for the game Rabbids Go Home. On the Wii, certain developers would make Wii channels for their games to add another level of connectivity and whatnot. This includes games like Wii Fit Plus, Mario Kart Wii, and then of course, Rabbids Go Home. While we know what this channel contained, there is no footage of any of this content. If you had chosen to download the channel, you can connect with other Rabbids and use outfits on your Rabbid afterwards. Basically, it's like a version of the Check Me Out channel, if you remember that. In a video titled Rabbids Expo video, brief footage of the channel can be seen. My attention was brought to this video by one of my fans in the comments section on a other Wii Lost Media video I made, so props to them for dropping the link. I probably wouldn't have found this without them. This video showcases what it looked like to view your Rabbids collection, but still the channel is unusable nowadays and no revival attempts have been made. Super Mario Spikers. Super Mario Spikers was a cancelled video game developed by Next Level Games, planned for release on the Wii. The game was worked on in 2006 and 2007, but never formally announced as a title in development until a prototype was leaked in 2014. There's not much known about its gameplay, only with it being stated that it's a hybrid between volleyball and wrestling, with some elements of a game show. What that means, who even knows? Development for this game began in late 2006, shortly after Next Level Games had completed Super Mario Strikers Charged. Following Nintendo's general success with creating sports adaptations with Mario characters, Nintendo financed Next Level Games' efforts to create a pitch for a volleyball game. The title started off as Mario Volleyball, which was a simple take on Mario characters playing volleyball. Over time though, the development team decided to add elements of wrestling to the game, changing the title to Super Mario Spikers, and adding more aggressive gameplay, making it more similar to their two prior Mario soccer games in both title and concept. At first, Nintendo was open to the idea of a more gritty, violent even Mario sports game. However, over time, Nintendo realized, yeah, this probably isn't a good idea. Supposedly, the cancellation of this game was due to it clashing with Nintendo's Code of Honor, which probably just meant that Nintendo characters absolutely beating the shit out of each other was not really appropriate. Then again, Smash Bros. Exists, so I don't really know where they were going with this. For anyone super disappointed in this game's cancellation, if it makes you feel any better, Mario Sports Mix actually introduced a volleyball game mode, just, without all the violent acts of assault. NVIDIA Shield Mario Kart Wii port. First released in May 2015, the NVIDIA Shield was initially marketed by NVIDIA as a microconsole, emphasizing the ability to play downloaded games and stream games from a compatible PC on a local network or via the GeForce Now subscription service. Now you may be asking, what the hell does this have to do with Wii Lost Media, or hell, the Wii in general? Well, for some reason, only in China, the NVIDIA Shield would actually release with 4K quality remasters of Wii games, some of which including Mario Galaxy, Donkey Kong Country Returns, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, among others. These games were all officially released, and they aren't lost, but there is one game that was shown off in promotional material such as this video right here. That was Mario Kart Wii. My guess as to why it was scrapped is because of complications with online, as the Wii's online functionality had shut down far before the release of the NVIDIA Shield in China. This was back in 2017, mind you, 3 years after Mario Kart Wii's official servers were dead and buried. These NVIDIA Shield ports were actually the closest to an official IQ Wii release we'd ever get, but you can't even download those Wii ports anymore, as the NVIDIA Shield's Chinese servers are gone too. Wii Fit Taikenbon. Wii Fit Taikenbon is a Wii game I'm almost certain none of you have heard of. Unless you've already seen my older videos, then I don't know, maybe you probably know what it is. Only in Japan, there was a super obscure version of Wii Fit called Wii Fit Taikenbon that was previously lost media until very recently. What is a Taikenbon? Well, it roughly translates to trial version, so essentially a Japanese game demo. Anyways, back to Wii Fit Taikenbon, known in English as Wii Fit Trial Edition, the game was presumably not one that you could buy in retail, considering only 6 known physical copies of this game actually exist. The purpose of Wii Fit Taikenbon is unknown, however the best guess that I have is that it was probably used in stores for demo kiosks and whatnot. although it does have its own disc and box art, so then again, we'll probably never really know. Upon booting up this once lost game, you are met with something pretty interesting: a title screen. The original Wii Fit and Wii Fit Plus both did not have title screens. Instead, it just launched you straight into the body test menu. But in Wii Fit Taikenbon, it has its own unique title screen, similar to the one seen in Wii Play, Wii Sports, and Wii Play Motion. It even has a unique music track to go along with it, which is missing from the final release of Wii Fit. Either they genuinely made a unique title screen for this demo, or this title screen and track are throwaways from the final release to make things simpler. The actual Taikenbon, or a trial version itself, isn't all too interesting, just letting you play a few of the balance games and yoga poses. Little underwhelming, but it's a trial edition for a reason. But hey, at least it was found, making it one of the only pieces of found lost media in the entire video. Obstacle Course E3 Demo. The obstacle course was part of Nintendo's remote pointer demo, used to illustrate the precision and responsiveness of the Wii Remote's pointer and motion sensing. This was available to play at E3 2006, a few months before the Wii's release. Players controlled a simple Mii-esque avatar navigating a floating, sky-high platform course, dodging wrecking balls, logs, moving platforms, and other hazards. I say Mii-esque because while it looks very similar, that's not a traditional Mii character. The face is way too realistic looking. IGN attendees praised the demo for its accessibility and tight control feel, noting how even the slightest little movements of the Wii Remote would translate instantly, and actually quite accurately on screen, helping prove Nintendo's claim that anyone can use the controller. The weird idle animations for the Miis was actually found in the files of Wii Play, probably because this demo shares a lot of DNA with that game's Pose Me minigame. However, the files required to play the actual obstacle course demo haven't been dumped on the internet or preserved, so there is currently no way to play this, and there probably never will be. Battle Me. Battle Me was a tech demo for Nintendo's Wii U that was shown off at E3 2011. The demo was meant to demonstrate how the Wii U gamepad is meant to enhance gameplay, and how the Wii Remote would also still be compatible with the Wii U. In the demo, two Miis dressed as Samus from Metroid run around a large level while shooting enemies, targets, or each other. Additionally, a third player could control Samus's gunship and attempt to defeat the two other players. Wii Fly. Game developer Factor 5 planned this Palowings Wii game and started developing it all the way back in 2007. Nintendo would eventually turn down the pitch, partially due to a Pilotwings inspired mode in Wii Sports Resort coming out, but that wasn't the end for the Wii version of Pilotwings. The developers eventually connected with the publisher Green Screen Interactive and started development on the game. The game itself was planned to be a realistic, open-world title that let players fly around to a number of famous cities across the globe. Additionally, the game would tap into the Wii's weather channel to simulate the weather and time of day in each location at any given time. In addition to the typical Pilotwings missions, Wii Fly also included a photo mode that let players pause and rotate the camera for mid-air flights. The coolest thing about this cancelled game is that there was a peripheral that Factor 5 was working on which would let you control your Mii character's flight with your head movements. The only existing footage of this cancelled game is the 3-minute trailer which has been playing in the background during this segment. In this footage, we can see a bunch of interesting things, such as Mii characters actually being playable. As stated earlier, you could choose from a bunch of different famous cities to fly around to, such as New York. However, despite all this content shown, I don't think they really worked very hard on the graphical side of things, considering this all looks very rough. Sure, there was a slightly small dev team working on this game, and they were working on the Wii after all, which isn't particularly known for amazing graphics. However, maybe they just weren't finished, because this game was cancelled. Anyways, I'm glad we still got some sort of version of this though through Wii Sports Resort's Island Flyover. However, actually being able to play this game would be absolutely amazing, although I don't think a playable build of this game will ever surface, and it's a shame because this game actually seemed really interesting. Wiwa. Wiwa was an unreleased Wii game developed by Zoink Games around... Zoink? Who names their company that? This game was being developed around 2008 to 2009, built around a truly bizarre but innovative concept. You would just slide your Wii Remote into the mouth of a real plush toy, then use the toy itself as the controller. What the fuck? You would control it by wiggling the ears, bouncing it, shaking it? These were all the movements that would directly control an on-screen creature as you played through levels, puzzles, and minigames. The gameplay combined light platforming with pet care elements, and the animations and visuals were nearly finished. A trailer was even released in 2009 showing how the plush would be used to control everything from movement to interactions in the world. Despite a working prototype and a mostly finished game, WiiWa was facing serious hurdles that ultimately led to its cancellation. Look, Nintendo had very strict hardware certification policies, and getting an unofficial toy accessory approved was a pretty tall order. By the early 2010s, the Wii market was declining, and with no support or viable distribution path, the game was shelved permanently. A spiritual successor called WiiWa Rock On later launched on mobile, using the same character but ditching the plush controller concept. Wii Relax. Wii Relax was a cancelled Wii game that would have been released alongside the cancelled Wii peripheral, the Vitality Sensor. We don't exactly know what Wii Relax would even be about, considering there's no information about this game existing aside from a name. It would probably consist of you putting your finger into the contraption to check your pulse, and make you do things like meditating and shit to make it lower until it's normal. But I don't know, I mean, what other purposes did the Vitality Sensor even have anyways? Even though it does sound kinda stupid, I wish they would have released this peripheral, just to see how they could have included this into games like Wii Fit as well as the elusive Wii Relax. Wii Drums and Wii Orchestra. Wii Drums is a lost game that was shown off at the Wii's initial E3 reveal in 2006. The game is a very bare-bones version of the drum mode that was featured in the final release of Wii Music. However, this version contains no balanced board support, considering that thing wasn't even shown off yet, and instead only had support for the Wii's motion controls. There was also an orchestra demo that was shown off at E3 2006, which really resembles the Wii Music Orchestra minigame, except there's one noticeable difference. Instead of using Mii's, the demo uses those really weird, humanoid-looking characters, similarly to the other demos shown off at E3 2006. Project Hammer. Project Hammer was a gritty first-party beat-em-up title in development at Nintendo Software Technology from around 2003, internally known as Machine X. Officially unveiled at E3 2006, the game cast players as a cyborg named MO9, wielding a massive hammer to battle waves of robotic enemies across near-future US cities. Combat was done by motion controls. Swinging the Wii Remote would make you swing the hammer, while the nunchuck handled movement. A simple leveling system boosted health and attack as you progressed toward boss encounters. By 2007, NST and Nintendo's Japanese management were locked in a creative stalemate. Western developers argued that the gameplay itself needed refining. Developers called out repetitive motion mechanics, but senior executives insisted on revamping the environments for greater destructibility. A dramatic visual overhaul transformed the title into a more lighthearted variant, dubbed Wii Crush, yet core gameplay issues remained unresolved. The project suffered further turbulence, its lead designer was fired, dozens of team members departed, and Nintendo of America ultimately launched an internal workplace review. Although reported on hold in 2007, funding was officially pulled in 2009, sealing the game's fate. Now that we've gotten halfway through the video, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. I now have a channel membership on YouTube which you can join if you would like to see some of my old content and shorts that I have previously privated, or if you want to gain any of these extra bonuses. Alright, that's all for now. Thank you for watching this far, thanks for being a supporter, and
let's go!
Super Meat Boy WiiWare. Super Meat Boy is a platform game developed by Team Meat and is the successor to the iconic Flash game Meat Boy, originally released on the Newgrounds website in October 2008. A WiiWare version of this game was going to be released, however there were some complications that ended with it being scrapped. Super Meat Boy on WiiWare was taking a pretty long time to be made and had some delayings. After some time, Super Meat Boy had officially been cancelled because of size limit problems on WiiWare. The WiiWare service has a 40 megabyte size limit, so Super Meat Boy was obviously way more than that. It also had been cancelled because they were unable to find a publisher for the game. Action Replay Wii Disc. You may know this, but Action Replay was a line of video game cheating devices developed and manufactured by the UK company Detail. I'd say they were best known for their Action Replay DS cartridge. Anyways, in 2008, after the discovery of an exploit in the signature verification of the Wii, new products from Detail, including a version of Action Replay for the Wii, started appearing in online storefronts for pre-order, releasing in January 2008. Here is a Best Buy listing for the product. While the Wii Freeloader, another disc-based device from Detail, ended up being widely sold on multiple stores, including their own, the Action Replay was soft-launched on considerably fewer sites, though it was available for order for a significant time period. On June 16, 2008, Nintendo released version 3.3 of the Wii system firmware, patching the exploit used by Detail that allowed these discs to run. While Detail continued to sell the Wii freeloader, albeit with a warning that it could not be used on updated systems, the storefront listings of the Action Replay started to disappear at this time, with only the Best Buy store page remaining to this day. It is possible that Detail decided to postpone the full launch of the device until they had found a way to restore functionality on the latest Wii system firmware, but, who really knows? Due to the limited release, this version of Action Replay has yet to be preserved in any way, with no listings appearing on eBay or secondhand sites. Super Mario Strikers 2. Super Mario Strikers Charged was released on the Nintendo Wii in 2007 and created by Next Level Games in partnership with Nintendo. It is the sequel to Super Mario Strikers on the GameCube. Now you may be wondering, hey, isn't this an actual game? Why is this on a Wii Lost Media list? Well, that's because there's an earlier version of the game that we don't really know much about, considering it was cancelled. Before it got the subtitle Charged later in development, the game was initially going under the simple title of Super Mario Strikers 2. The original title was scrapped before its first public showing at the Wii Prove Our Promise keynote in August 2006. There were many differences between this concept game and the final. The biggest unused visual idea that the artists at Next Level Games experimented with was the addition of mechs and other vehicles, which would have decorated the perimeter of certain stages during gameplay. This game deserves its own video, honestly, for how much changes were made from this version compared to the final. We'd be here all day if I covered everything. Wario Land Shake It Unused Enemies. Wario Land Shake It, aka Wario Land the Shake Dimension in Europe, is the 5th installment in the Wario Land series of platformer games. The gameplay consists most of shaking or flipping the Wii Remote to throw or manage objects while doing some platforming. The game has only 6 worlds, but by searching through the game's code, it was possible to find lots of stuff that wasn't used in the final version. Probably, Wario Land Shake It could have been a bigger game, with more enemies and bosses and maybe even worlds. There is a total of 7 unused enemies, most of which are completed with fluid animations, configurations, and even some effects, while others are still incomplete. Here, I'll play some footage of them now. Wii U Demae Channel. The Demae Channel, known outside of Japan as the Food Channel, was officially launched on the Wii on May 26, 2009 as a Japan-exclusive food delivery app developed by Nintendo and Denyu, and operated by Demae. It let users enter their address via the Wii to order from local restaurants, browse by cuisine, such as sushi, pizza, bento boxes, etc., choose toppings or options, apply coupons, and pay cash on delivery. On August 8, 2013, Nintendo released a version for the Wii U under the name Demae, capitalizing on the name of the restaurant delivery operator. Unlike the original Wii version with its custom interface and menus, however, the Wii U version simply redirected users to Demae's mobile-style website within the gamepad browser, serving as more of a web app than a full native interface. Both the Wii and Wii U versions were officially discontinued on March 31, 2017, and removed from their respective digital stores on February 22, 2017. Choking back bile in my mouth when I say the site name. On Reddit, discussions from early 2025 confirmed that while the Wii U app still technically appeared on some modded systems, the actual ordering service ceased to function outside Japan after shutdown. Z-Blue Cops Wii. Z-Blue Cops was a cancelled adventure game based around the French comic book of the same name. It was being developed by BioDroid exclusively for Wii, with a release being targeted for mid to late 2010. The original Z-Blue Cops comic series, a comedy about a group of incompetent law enforcers, grew a modest cult following in its country of origin throughout its run. However, with no official English translations of it ever released, the fanbase was never able to expand beyond there in any great numbers. BioDroid's video game would have been its first leap into English-speaking markets, with the team hoping for an international release. The title entered development midway through 2008 with ambitions high, one former developer calling it an attempt to revive the classic 90s adventure game. BioDroid's initial pitch to the comic's publisher placed a high emphasis on accurately conveying the humor and goofiness of the comic, but it was very much set on blazing its own trail. It would have seen the players controlling 10 different members of the Z-Blue Cops, each with their own unique abilities used to solve puzzles and take down enemies. 2 officers were rendered on the screen at a time, but you could cycle through a wheel of other playable characters to alternate between them in real time, similar to the LEGO video games or GTA 5. Frisbee. Yep, just Frisbee, that was the game's name. In 2007, Create Studios worked on a Frisbee game prototype for Nintendo Wii, developed to demonstrate their new tech. The team is mostly known for Coded Arms Contagion and Insecticide, but they also created a few tie-in games such as Aqua Teen Hunger Force Zombie Ninja Pro-Am, Jesus that is a mouthful, and Biker Mice from Mars. This Frisbee game may have been pitched to some publishers as a cheap project for the casual market, but in the end it was never fully developed into a full game. Call of Putty. Clay Fighter Call of Putty is a vaporware game created by Interplay Entertainment for the DS and Wii, which was a planned sequel to the fighting game series Clay Fighter. It was created for the return of the Clay Fighter series and is an updated version of Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut. The game was originally announced in 2009 and was planned for a late 2010 to early 2011 release for the DSi and Nintendo Wii. However, it was cancelled due to 2011 being the year that these consoles were retired so that Nintendo could work on their newer consoles, the 3DS and Wii U. Wara Wara Plaza Early Version. The Wara Wara Plaza is one half of the Wii U's menu, that you may know. It's a big, plaza where Mii's can be seen standing under the floating logos of games you've been playing recently, or of games whose Miiverse community you're a part of. This is no longer how it functions, as online support has been pulled, so it just displays all of the system apps, but it's still cool looking. However, there was an early version of the Wara Wara Plaza seen in the pre-E3 2012 Nintendo Direct. 14 seconds of footage is all we have of this menu, but it shows the floating icons being arranged in such a way that was different from the final. In the final version, the logos are lined up in a circle, however in this version they are more randomly scattered. The actual game logos that are seen in this are all either placeholders, because I'm pretty sure none of these are actual real Wii U games. I mean look, that is a Mario Kart 7 render. These are just generic photos of different Nintendo IPs, and that's a gun. I don't even know where that one comes from. But yeah, this is all the footage of this beta Wara Wara Plaza, so who knows what other elements of the Wii U's menu were cut or reworked. Bulletin Board Channel. Nintendo originally planned a dedicated bulletin board channel, internally dubbed the What's New channel, for the Wii, which would have functioned as a centralized newsfeed style hub right on the console's menu interface. The concept came to light in the 2020 Nintendo Giga Leak, which revealed early builds showing a curated layout for news updates, system notices, and perhaps Nintendo promotions. Ultimately, the feature was scrapped in favor of expanding the existing Wii message board for similar purposes, and rather than launching a new channel, Nintendo would just extend the message board features over time, adding small updates, USB keyboard support, and enabling link sharing and SMS texting. It actually looks quite interesting and more colorful than the Wii message board, although that's because it wasn't made to fit the Wii menu's white and gray aesthetic. Megastar. Megastar is a cancelled music game that was being developed by EA Montreal in late 2009, with a release being targeted for the following year exclusively on the Wii. It was in the works for approximately 2 months, never advancing past the pre-production phase of development. According to an artist who worked on the game, it was being prepared as EA's response to Just Dance, which launched in November 2009. The Montreal team had previously worked on other titles, such as the Boogie games, but Megastar was being pitched as a much more direct competitor. It would have had its own twist in the form of a singing component via a USB microphone, similar to that of Boogie. Up to 4 people would have been able to play together locally with any combination of the 2 gameplay types, karaoke and dancing, simultaneously. Its setlist was mostly composed of rock and pop music. Some of the examples given in EA's user interface mockups include artists Fergie and Avril Lavigne. The company's general manager, Alain Tuscan, blamed the unpredictable climate of the Wii's market and shifted the company into focusing solely on HD platforms. Wii Sports Resort cancelled minigames. From an email interview with Wired Online magazine, Katsuya Iguchi, I'm so sorry if I butchered that name, a Wii Sports Resort developer shared some lost info about the massively popular Wii Sports. We considered fishing and a waterslide activity before deciding on the final 12 events, Iguchi said. I'm having a hard time imagining a controllable, skill-based waterslide game, which may have been one of the reasons it didn't end up in Resort, as it could have just been too confusing to develop. As for more unconventional concepts, we created a pretty fun prototype of Kentama, a traditional Japanese toy that just didn't fit in the game's theme. That is another quote directly from the developer. These minigames were likely cut because, well, they just didn't really fit the theme. Fishing maybe could have been a good fit, but water slide and kendama? I don't know where that's fitting in. Still, it would have been awesome to see these minigames in action, but sadly, there's not even any mock-up images of this, so it was probably merely an idea within the development team. Hasbro Family Game Night 3 Trivial Pursuit. Hasbro Family Game Night is a series of games created by EA in partnership with Hasbro, bringing their iconic board games to a video game format. And the game in question today, Hasbro Family Game Night 3, was released on October 26, 2010 for the PlayStation 3, Wii, and Xbox 360. This installment adapts 5 different games: The Game of Life, Clue, Twister, Mousetrap, and Yahtzee hands down. So what? The game was released, where's the lost media? Well, in a 50-second trailer for the game, at the very end that game's box art is shown on screen. And when taking a closer look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Trivial Pursuit? What's that doing there? Well, quite frankly, I have no idea. No release of the game across the 3 consoles it's on has Trivial Pursuit in the game, so where did it go? And is there even any footage of this? To that I say, not sure and no. Someone in the comments of this trailer speculates that the game was unfinished. The actual game was trash, so they obviously rushed it up. Rushed it might be, but it was not trash. I love this game, it was peak. But yeah, I have no clue where Trivial Pursuit went, and I think that guy's theory may be correct. Wii Fit Parachute and Fencing. Just like Wii Sports Resort, Wii Fit had cancelled minigames, except this time around there's actual visuals for these games. The first one was parachuting, and what's left over of this lost minigame was the map, which is just the Wii Sports Golf training map, as well as some assets like the parachute itself, a target object, and an orange hoop. There is also this animation that was presumably used for when the Mii was free falling in the air. The minigame technically still lives on through Wii Sports Resort's skydiving minigame, but it's not the same because the balance board obviously isn't used. I can't say the same about the next minigame being fencing. Yeah, not a shocker, fencing we never returned. What's left of fencing is a ball, which is just a reused Wii Sports tennis ball, and the sword used for the actual fencing. Mii Keychain Gambling. In the WeNoMa channel, which is probably a goldmine for lost media, there is promotional images that can be found on the preserved WeNoMa website, and it displays some sort of roulette minigame and card matching minigame. These games were playable back in 2010, and upon winning you could be sent a keychain with your Mii's face on it. Unfortunately, there's no footage of these minigames being played, or even proof of a physical keychain, so who knows if Nintendo is actually fulfilling orders. They did do that whole Mii stamp thing, and those did end up getting sent to people's houses, so it probably wasn't much different with this. But of course, there's no way of telling considering there's no proof of it on the internet. Wii U Zapper. In the E3 2011 trailer for the Wii U, around a minute 50 seconds in, there's a minigame being played by someone holding what looks like to be a version of the Wii Zapper peripheral, but for the Wii U. It holds the Wii U gamepad and it's being used as a sniper scope. The player aims it into a window and shoots at a Mii of Shigeru Miyamoto. Who knows if this is an actual game or just an animation, but what's more interesting is the actual Wii U Zapper peripheral itself. That thing never got released, but it actually seems like a really cool idea and probably could make some shooter games feel immersive. Cosmic Walker. Cosmic Walker is a cancelled adventure/action game that was in development for the Wii. At Nintendo Fall Conference 2008, a movie reel was shared full of upcoming Wii games that were in development, like Punch-Out Wii, Sin and Punishment 2, and another Code R. Another game shown off for the first time was a curious space simulation game developed by Gaia, the studio created by former Atlas employee Koji Okada, but no info was shared about it. All that exists of Cosmic Walker is like 5 seconds of footage which I've had looped in the background. This looks like a pretty cool game honestly, but it's too bad we'll probably never be able to experience it. Otona no Ona no Yoranai Teko, I'm sorry again if I butchered that. Otona no Ona no Yoranai Teko, meaning fortune-telling notebook for adult women in English, was a cancelled Nintendo DS game in development by a dev team within Nintendo. The title was eventually reworked into the game Tomodachi Collection. Later, Nintendo partnered up with development studio Jamsworks and released a fortune-telling Nintendo DS game called DSi Yoranai Seikatsu, but its significance to the original game is unknown. While very little information is known about this game due to it being cancelled, it is known that the game would have been a fortune-telling tool, and that the players could have had avatars based on themselves put into the game, with this concept being later turned into the Mii's and the Mii channel on the Wii just a year or two later. Even if not released, this game is a rather important one in the Wii's history, as the game was the first ever instance of avatars resembling Mii's being utilized. Although the proper concept of Miis was not fully developed at the time of the DS fortune-telling notebook's relevance, and the avatars as a collective were not officially named in development, a Mii Maker lookalike was included in the game. All existing media regarding this lost game is a few screenshots showing the Mii Maker, the main room, and both Iwata and Sakamoto Mii faces, as well as a whopping 7 seconds of footage appearing in a Tomodachi Collection overview trailer.
大人の女の占い手帳と呼ばれて開発されていた時代に生まれたキャラクターです。その時にはまだ Mii という名前もありませんでしたが、それを開発中の Wii の本体機能に取り入れて Mii と名付けられます。
This footage does confirm that the game was being worked on in 2005, thus proving that this game predated the Wii's Mii Maker. And that's it! The ultimate Wii Lost Media Iceberg explained. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it can be a send-off to the whole Wii Lost Media series I got going on this channel, as this compiles it all and more into one definitive video. Of course, there's some more cancelled games and whatnot, but I didn't want to include so many of those in this video, because then it would be more like the cancelled Wii game Iceberg. Maybe that's a topic for another day, who knows. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more Iceberg or Lost Media videos in the future. Alright, I will see you all soon. Goodbye.